Hello, my loves. So today we're going to be talking about burnout. And I mean, neurodivergent, like you really just absolutely burned out and cannot move. It usually takes many months to recover from. A lot of people say that they never fully recover. Burnout is a really serious thing. And I'm here to share. I've gone through this many times. I've gone through so many different stages of what I would call burnout, particularly for neurodivergence. Burnout for me has been something that I've tried so hard to try to avoid. I would get a job and then I would burn out. I would absolutely crash and burn, unable to talk to anyone. And I would then take 8 months off. And then around that mark, I would finally feel better and be able to apply for new jobs. And this would just continue, basically. I wouldn't be able to keep a job for more than like a year during this time. So, what I want to impose to you, and especially if you're going through burnout right now, I can totally relate. I understand it feels like the world is ending. It feels like there's no way for you to do what you're supposed to do, what you need to do, and what you want to do, even. And you just feel like, what's wrong with me? Why can't I go and talk to people? Why can't I even communicate what is happening to me to others? It's just an absolute, it feels like hitting rock bottom, basically. But what it really is, and what I'd like to shift your perspective to make you see it as, is a completely normal and natural forced dark night of the soul. And this happens to everyone, not even just neurodivergence. It's just a part of our life cycle that will happen a few times in our life, very likely. And it's totally normal for that to happen. But the thing that you need to do in order to get through it, and if you know what the dark night of the soul is, you already know a little bit about this and you're ahead of the game. What you're going to want to do is really, really focus on being alone. That is what the dark night of the soul really is about. And it's what burnout is forcing you to do. It's like your inner voice kind of saying, I need attention. You're not paying attention to me. And it's forcing you to not want to interact with anyone else and to want to be alone. And the hope is that you will just be in silence with yourself and you'll have no one else to distract you, and that you'll just be able to hear your own voice. But in the modern age, we have Netflix and we have TikTok and we have a billion things to scroll on and distract ourselves from our inner voice. And that is what I, back in the day, was doing whenever I was on these breaks from work, whenever I was feeling like I was in burnout. I was trying to recover from it by taking a full break, right? Just letting myself binge Netflix for a while because I just felt so bad, right? I felt like I was, for lack of a better word, depressed, right? It feels like a depression that you're just stuck in and you're just waiting. It feels like a waiting game. You just need to wait until you feel better. And that's what I would do. And it just kept on happening until I finally started realizing through many times of this process that the reason that we can't fully recover and the reason that it's recurring is that we have not gotten in touch with ourselves. We haven't solved the problem. It's going to happen again because we didn't actually listen to our inner voice. So, as hard as it is, and trust me, I am not into meditation the way that it is presented to society. I do not like just sitting there in silence. That is not me. That is not even how my voice really gets in touch with me. I'm an artist, so I like to listen to music. And then once I see like a music video playing in my head. And I always encourage my visual artist mentees to do this. This is an exercise. I'll do it for about 30 minutes. Just let your favorite playlist play and close your eyes and visualize a music video playing in your head. That's just what you would do as a music video to this song, right? What do you love about it? What do you picture? If you're not a visualization person or you can't see pictures in your head, this might not work for you. And maybe it's more about journaling for you. But for me and for a lot of visuals artists, this is a way to start being inspired again and to start really seeing your life through that lens and letting your inner voice speak through your mind's eye or whatever you want to call it, through those visualizations. So that is one of my techniques. But what you really want to do is just let yourself speak, let your inner voice speak to you and figure out what it's trying to say. What's wrong? Why did you need attention? And maybe it really is just that you weren't listening to your inner voice at all and it needs a little bit of attention. We can't just go prolonged stances of time just paying attention to what other people's needs are. We need to pay attention to our own. So if you're not paying attention to yourself, it's going to have something to say about it. So just giving yourself that space and time to listen to your inner voice. And I understand that the inclination is to go to lay on the couch and turn on Netflix or lay in bed and scroll. And it's totally fine to give yourself some space when you're first experiencing burnout to go ahead and do those things. It can be hard to even like cope with yourself right then. So I would give yourself a couple days of space for that. And that's totally natural. Don't beat yourself up about it. Don't feel any shame or guilt, because that is a natural point. But try to push yourself out of that, or give yourself 20 minutes a day where you are just with yourself. Maybe just shut it down, put the phone down for 5 minutes, and just lay there and just think, and just let thoughts come. And that is one reason I think that people are always recommending taking a shower. Not only does it obviously make you feel like you look a little bit more presentable, but also it forces you alone with your thoughts. And I think that really is very important. But again, I'm totally with you. If the term meditation doesn't really strike a chord, does not feel like something you can even manage to do, any way that you can just let yourself breathe from the distractions, because that's what caused this, right? What causes burnout is you not paying attention to yourself. Maybe you're distracting yourself with work. Maybe you're distracting yourself with thinking about what other people are thinking of you. Maybe you're distracting yourself with like people pleasing. But in any case, it is just you not listening to yourself. And I have gone through this so many times, and every single time it was very consistent. Eight months I'd need to recover, and then I'd get right back into another job that I wasn't really aligned with, that didn't really feel like me, but I just didn't know what to do. And slowly over the years, I've realized that I can get back to my life in about 2 weeks now, I would say. And I'm making it smaller every time. I'm making that burnout stage smaller every time. And I'm trying to not think of it as burnout so much anymore, because I have always been told that burnout is a permanent, terrible thing that happens to our brains where we cannot recover. It's almost a psychotic break. And for me, I think that and it might be true for some people. I'm not a psychologist. However, I would definitely encourage you to see it as simply a forced time of your inner voice saying, I really need you to pay attention to me here. We are not aligned. We are not doing the thing that we're supposed to be doing. We're not doing what I want to do. They're just kicking and screaming. And yeah, it can harm you. It can definitely harm you physically, but you're not going to recover from it doing anything other than listening to that voice, figuring out what it's trying to tell you, figuring out who you are and what you actually want to be doing with your life, what you actually are inspired by, what lights you up inside, what you love doing, and then going towards that. So it's a period of realignment. The dark night of the soul really is about transformation. It's a period of time where you can realign, recenter, figure out what's up, what do you need to do, what do you need to see to make you more aligned to where you want to be and where you are, in my mind, supposed to be. And it's a period of time where when you're coming out of it, you will be completely transformed. You will be a different person. You will feel like a different person. And I think that this is why burnout is very linked to never being able to recover from it. I will never be able to go back to those jobs that I had that burned me out. I will never be able to do that, because burnout has opened up my eyes to the fact that those jobs are so wrong for me. I can never go back to working my ass off for someone else and for a vision that I just don't align with, for a mission that I don't agree with, or working on a project that I think is harming the world more than helping it. I'm just not going to be able to do that anymore. And that is not because I'm broken from burnout. It is because I have seen what I'm really supposed to be doing. I have been transformed by that process, and I am moving forward towards what I actually want to do, and in a slightly more aligned fashion than before. And this, again, I told you, this is a cycle. It's going to happen again. And that's why I encourage you to get familiar with this process of getting in touch with yourself, because we're never going to be perfectly aligned. And when you're driving on a road, if you're flying a plane, I think is a little better of an analogy. You can try really hard to get it right on the dot, but you're probably going to end up being a little bit off course, even if you're aiming right at that mountain across on the horizon. If you just let it go, it would probably not quite get there, right? And you have to continuously realign it. So you have to go through this process again and again. And at least in my experience, I have been getting faster and faster at realigning. And not because speed is the game here, of course, but it is really cool to see that I just don't need as much time to recover because I know what this stage really is. And I feel that it's just a natural part of my process. And it's totally okay. There's less shaming and guilt coming through me because I'm understanding that this is a process that is totally normal and natural. It's not that I did anything wrong. It's not that I messed up somehow. It is simply an opportunity for realignment. And it is basically my body saying, you have to listen to me now. We're veering way too far, of course, and I won't put up with it anymore. So I encourage you to think of it this way. I'm totally open to any of your thoughts. Let me know in the comments. If you know anything I don't, very likely, I'd love to hear it. Or if you have any tips of your own for getting out of burnout. I think that thinking of this as a stage of transformation has just been so key for me. And this winter, I had a really bad month, encountering things that I had never encountered before. It felt like it was the end of the world for me, truly. And it was harder than ever to really wake up and put myself back on track, because I really could see in my physical space so many proofs that I was actually in a really bad place. Because that's kind of how it works. That's what always triggers a dark night of the soul. It's always something that actually is really bad. It really does feel like you're like, I am completely right. I am not in a good place right now. Like, everything does actually suck. But it is a normal period of someone's life. These things are going to happen, and they trigger this moment, this time that you need to center and connect with yourself and make sure that you're aligned. And obviously, not every catastrophe means that you need a realignment, but why not take that opportunity, right? Why not make sure that during this time when you need to be alone, you need to take space from everyone else and sit with yourself or take a break from work? Why not reconnect and make sure that you are really on the right course? For me, that exercise that I shared of just playing music, visualizing, that is my favorite thing to get back in touch. And I also journal a lot. And what I wanted to share with you is basically the things that I do in my journal, which I call my grimoire. And because I'm a visual artist, I go through a lot of journaling practices. I go through a lot of visualization and sketching practices to help me envision who I want to be, the life I want to live, what kind of artist I want to be, what I want to speak to the world, what I want to share, and my message. I think that's are all really key things, especially if you're a creative of any kind. And I'm going to be sharing a little bit more about what I do and some of the exercises that I do basically every single year. And sometimes I'll do them every 6 months, or whenever I do have this moment of a breakdown or a burnout or a moment of forced dark night of the soul, right? Then it's a really great opportunity to just connect and do these exercises. So I'm going to share some of those with you in the coming weeks, in the coming videos. It's made this process of like getting out of burnout or getting out of the confusion state, it's made that process really fun for me and enjoyable, is as crazy as that is. Because once you get on a roll with some of these exercises, it's just like you start feeling really inspired and really good about yourself and really good about your direction. And it's crazy to have that kind of turnaround in, honestly, for me, it was just about a week. And I could even be more clear. I think it happened in an instant because there was just a point where I looked and I was just like, oh, it's fine. It's okay. I'm good. And I know what I need to do. And that's kind of what I want to give to you guys. I just want you to know how to get out of that rut, out of that burnout stage that feels so catastrophic. It's not. So I really like talking about this kind of stuff. And this is definitely what I want to be sharing with the world. I feel like it's taken me a long time to get to this place. So look forward to a lot more of this kind of banter, I guess, this kind of talk, because I think I've gotten to a place where I feel a lot better about my ability to climb out of those ditches that I find myself in. And I think it's the most useful skill that I've ever learned. I'm going to share more about this with you guys and some of these exercises that really help me to get very clear on who I am as a person and what I want to do with my life, what I want to do with my creativity. And I believe we're all creative. So if you're watching this and you're like, I'm not creative, but I am experiencing burnout, I have news for you. Whatever you're doing, it might need to involve a little bit more creativity. try it out. I encourage everyone to try out having a creative hobby. I think that if you don't have any creative hobby, you're really missing out on a core part of being human. So those are my thoughts. I will talk to you guys tomorrow. See ya.